Good morning. We're going to start with lesson 1E, or technically we would be calling these slides 1.11, but this is 1E in our unit. So we're going to read through about Archimedes and measuring volume. Archimedes, I'm sorry, let me stop for a moment. This is journal pages 15 through 17 for this activity, but you can follow along on the screen. Archimedes was a Greek mathematician and scientist. He was born around 287 BC and died in 212 BC. About 250 BC, Archimedes was given a challenge by the king. The king had ordered a new crown made of pure gold. Archimedes was asked to solve a problem for the king and determine if the king's new crown was indeed solid gold. Archimedes needed to find its volume, the amount of space it takes up. The crown was an irregular shape, and Archimedes could not use any of his normal measuring instruments. How could he measure the volume of such an oddly shaped object? Then one day, as Archimedes sank into his bathtub, he observed that the water level in the tub rose. His body displaced or pushed aside water in the tub to make room for his body. He determined that this effect could help him measure the volume of the crown. He submerged the crown into a tub of water and measured the amount of water that was displaced by the crown. The submerged crown would displace an amount of water equal to the volume of the crown. All right, so now we move on to, oops, did I go too fast? There we go. To the actual lesson piece. So using the water that we have here, we're going to fill a graduated cylinder to 50 milliliters of water. So we also have to learn to use our pipette. You don't have a graduated cylinder at home, but hopefully you do have the other information. I'm sorry, you don't have a graduated cylinder, which I'm going to show you in a second, but you do have your pipette, and you could possibly use a measuring cup. Okay, so it says if you are a little above the mark, pour some water out. Use the pipette to add water so the bottom curve of the water touches the 50 milliliter line. Record the water level without the marble as the volume of the water without object on your chart. So we'll get to that piece in a second, but the bottom of the curve, we call it the meniscus. So there is your fancy science vocabulary word for the day. So we're going to pour in some water. And as we close into 50 milliliters, we're going to want to go slower. And then I'm going to use my pipette for the rest of it so I don't have to worry as much about going over. And I'm looking closely for that bottom curve of the water, the meniscus, to be right on the line there. There we go. Oops, sorry, I just put my hand in front of the camera. That's all right. It's my first time doing it like this, and I'm super excited that this is working out. All right, so then the next step was to place the marble in. But if we read the directions, which I did earlier, we have to tip it to the side and put it in slowly so as to not have any water splash out. And then we're going to read the graduated cylinder here, which is a little bit above 50, but it's not quite to 51. So I would say it's 50 and 5/10 milliliters. So let's go back to the directions. So we did this. We tilted the graduated cylinder slightly and carefully placed the marble in. The water level did rise about half a milliliter. So we come down here to our chart. Okay. And this is page 17. And so the volume of the water without the object, we measured it to 50 milliliters, okay? The volume of the water with the object became 50 and a half, 50 and 5/10 milliliters. So then we have to do a little bit of math. And luckily you're working on decimals in math class right now. We're going to take the volume of the object and the volume of the water with the object. I'm sorry, to find the volume of the object. That's what this is saying right here. Find the volume of the object. We need to take the volume of water with object and subtract the volume of the water without the object. So essentially 50 and 5/10 milliliters subtract 50 milliliters equals 1/2 milliliter. Why did it just switch on me? There we go. Go back. 1/2 milliliter. All right, let's try that one more time. No, why does it keep switching? Okay, and then we'll go back up to the directions. Remove the marble from the graduated cylinder by pouring the water and the marble back into the container. So we'll do that. Refill the graduated cylinder with 50 milliliters of water, as you did in step 1, and carefully place the other small items into the cylinder. Does the water level rise? All right, so let's give it 50 milliliters of water again. Ooh, that one was really close. Probably just a couple of drops here. And then we need to put in, we're going to put in let's see what one washer does. All right. So if we read the graduated cylinder now, we have the water level has rose 1 milliliter. So we still had our 50 milliliters. And when we put the washer in, we then had 51 milliliters. So when we subtract, luckily this one's a nice easy one, non-decimal, 51 minus 50 is 1 milliliter. So the volume of that washer was 1 milliliter. All right, so then we cannot do the golf ball because do you think a golf ball is going to fit in the top of this graduated cylinder? No, it's not. So instead, we could place this 20-gram mass piece. But first, remember, we have to dump this all out. We got to start all over. place our 50 milliliters. So as I'm putting in the 50 milliliters of water, I want you to make a prediction. How much volume do you think that 20-gram piece has in milliliters? Trying to get that meniscus nice and lined up. All right, let's see if your prediction is correct. And we have 1, 2.5. So 52.5 milliliters is our new volume here. So I'm going to take the golf ball one. We'll change the name of it. So we had 50 milliliters initially. Let's take a text box over golf ball. I'll show you something new. So we're going to put 20-gram brass weight. And you're like, but Mrs. Davis, it's like covering up the golf ball, but I can still see it. So the cool thing is, if you go, oops, I've got to change my size here. That was too small. If you go up here to the painter bucket and you make the background white, now you can't see the word golf ball. All right, so when we measured with the 20-gram brass weight in there, we had 52.5 milliliters. Thought I was writing. I don't want to comment, I want a text box. 52.5 milliliters. Okay. So when we subtract, we'll take 52.5, subtract 50, and we end up with 2.5 milliliters. So the volume of that piece is 2.5 milliliters. Okay. So this is called water displacement and is one way to find the volume of irregularly shaped materials. Okay, hope that it makes more sense now, and we're going to continue to explore this concept over the next couple of lessons. Have a great day. Same awkward moment as last time. It does not want to stop.